Welcome to Java. Thank you kindly for joining me. It's September 22nd, 2025. It is Monday, as well as the first day of fall, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. So happy fall to all of you, to where you are in that area. We've got quite a bit to cover today. There was a lot that kind of happened in the background in the weekend. Some stuff we're going to cover forward because I'm not going to be here midweek because I've got the conference. I'm going to bring as much material as I can to you that is allowed to be posted. So, with this, let's get started with what's going on in the markets this morning. Quite early, so we've got the fear greed meter. We left off with it here at 62. So, still markets very much in the greed territory. A lot of the stocks, equities, many things are actually technically on the charts in very overbought territory. That means priced very high, room for a bit of cooling back and letting more air out of this inflation, if you will. So let's kind of jump over to the 10-year yield. At the moment, it's 4.13, so it's up a bit. And this is part of the surprising thing. Yields are up a little bit, sell off of the bonds that went into the equities, but it looks like the flow is about to reverse. We've got the relative strength of the dollar. This is pretty much flat since Friday. So the developments that have happened mostly are regarding cryptocurrencies because they're the ones that are open over the weekend, and we'll talk about why, but they're down a significant amount. I believe they've got a little bit more that they can go, but they're not going to zero, at least not yet, I don't believe. And whenever it has enough of a drop like this, that's all I see in the feeds. And I get all kinds of emails about Bitcoin going to zero and this not going to happen. And I assure you, the shift to digital currencies is going to happen. So with this, let's go forward now. Market left us off green. Was a lot of buying in this. We've got the future saying there's a little bit of weakness, not anything significantly yet. However, it is showing again that it's just not so stable on the opening. It's going to be determined by the news that you hear as it opens. Gold is telling the other story. All-time high again, above 3,700. So watching gold and silver again recover. Oil is also up slightly, not enough, 62.82, but this is also in geopolitical tensions. Again, there's quite a bit going on that front this morning. So our daily driver really is actually war and company. So not just war, but a little bit more of negotiations, the tariff type of stuff, and we'll talk about that a little bit more geopolitical this morning. IndiVda is now worth more than India amid the stock market plunge. Now, a couple of things caused this stock market plunge. We're going to talk about H-1B visas in a bit. However, what I want to point out, I had spoken about this, I believe it was Friday's matter of fact, or it was towards the end of last week, how the valuation of India was not in alignment with the derivatives. They have the largest derivatives market globally, even larger than the United States. So this could pop significantly. At the moment, it's just coming down a bit. Now, India's worth is $4.19 trillion in economy, and NVIDIA at the moment is 4.33 trillion. So just to give it a little bit of perspective for the troubles that we're looking forward to, because these are leveraged for the derivatives that are now overbought. Now, we've got Bank of Japan is starting to unload their ETFs. I spoke about this last week as well. They are looking at going into a hiking cycle, but similar to the Fed for the United States, their central bank is between a rock and a hard place, but on the opposite side. So they've got to look at hiking interest rates. They've got a problem with inflation going forward. So they're more interested in quelling that than going easy on the monetary policy like it is in the United States. So they'll be selling these off, but they've got a slower plan. However, stock market heard that, did not like it. So Japanese stock market selling off. This is going to strengthen the yen. So looking forward as a currency trader, if they are bound and determined to strengthen their currency, that's a buy. So what this is in essence going to do is reinflate that yen carry trade. It is going to be the opposite of what is happening in the United States as far as de-dollarization. So watching a lot of flows that are shifting back towards that. So that's going to be a bit of one to watch, in my opinion, over the next day or so, through this next week. That yen carry trade again. We've got Trump is going to meet Arab leaders prior to Netanyahu. Amid more Israel strikes, there was more war happening this weekend, and the Western nations are now recognizing Palestinian state. Talk a little bit more about that, but that's causing some issues as well. Now, here's an interesting quote. This is by an ex-US comptroller. Now, the comptroller is, in effect, the accountant, if you will, for the United States, saying inflation is worse than CPI shows. So we've been saying this, but they are arguing to the contrary. But now we've got a formal voice in agreement with what we can plainly see. They're just covering this up. So as far as the calendar, what we are looking at is just Fed after Fed. They're in a parade. They're going to be having speeches. But as always, their narrative can move the markets, because depending on whether they look more towards the easy money policy will definitely affect the market. Now, nothing today except Fed presidents. Tomorrow, getting PMI. So through the week, there's going to be a couple of other market movers like reports, but really PMI and a little bit more towards the end of the week, but I should be back by then. Now, I bet you will be happy to know that this was a false alarm. That surge in jobless claims was unwinding after that recent spike, and layoffs are actually still low. So, joke's on us. Everybody's still actually employed according to them. So, this is one of the largest pieces of garbage that I've seen as far as propaganda coming out. They're getting really bad at writing their pieces. So, just like talking about the comptroller who came up with the truth, this is a load of garbage. So we had Bank of America come out right afterwards saying the unemployment rate for recent grads is rising faster than other workers. So one or the other cannot be true. I am looking at unemployment numbers and corporations looking at layoff every day. So we've definitely got a softer job market, and that is why the Fed cut. So they're trying to manage this with their propaganda. So we've got a few single movers, market pits, if you will. Firefly is coming out. They're going to be reporting their earnings as Firefly Aerospace. It looks to me like they're going to come out with probably positive news. This is not financial advice, but just to say what's going on. Now, we've got transport in general having issues. As I put, transport is out of here. Little bit of a joke. But seriously, the European markets are down. Their auto industry significantly. Porsche down on their forward earnings and pulling back on all of their forward earnings, not going to do their electric vehicles are really causing problems with them, as we knew this a long time ago. And airlines are pretty much across the board going to have a difficult time today. And the reason is there was an airport cyber attack continuing to disrupt flights across Europe, but there was also massive outage in the United States that caused problems domestically for the main carriers there as well through some of their hubs. So The two of these together are going to cause some issues for those two sectors today. So don't look into the positive for those. If you want to look at particular levels for possibly getting in, wait till it sets a bottom, because both of these are going to be weak. Now, this is what is kind of shifting the posit, at least from Cathy Woods, is that the H-1B visas, Trump is now saying that they are going to impose a $100,000 fee for these H-1B visas. They used to only cost a few $1,000s in fees, and the companies would in general pay them. So this is, in short, maybe this sounds racist, but it's targeted towards India because they're the main carrier of this type of visas. And so the largest amount of work that you get out of this is tech. So the high-tech sector, the thought is that they are making all of the money. We're talking Amazon is probably the largest one that would be affected by this, but also the likes of Google and other Mag 7, in short. So they're hiring their tech for artificial intelligence and other high tech. With these H-1B visas, they believe they can afford this, so they're looking for another stream of revenue, but on the back end. This is, in short, a different form of negotiation with India, aside from the tariffs directly. So this is what I was speaking about. That is going to have an effect. Now, another market mover within the vehicle industry. Now, Charlie Kirk had a memorial, and at the memorial was Trump as well as Elon Musk. People saw them in the stands talking to each other. So the rumors, if you have it, as you will, is that they might be getting to be friends again. And so Tesla is up on this news. On the flip side, we've got Buffett is dumping a lot of his stake in BYD. So the main rival, I suppose you would say, to Tesla is having a very difficult time, as all of the shares were dumped, as well as not being able to compete on this sector. So those are individual movers. We've got PayPal, Google, and MasterCard are all in on agentic AI. This is in respect to payments specifically. So they're coming out with some type of news. It's not been disclosed yet, but watching these three for the payment sector in specific, if you look at what they do, kind of obvious. So with this, let's go into just a couple more things. Now, again, Bitcoin could crash to 107,000. So I find that funny because it wasn't long ago that they were talking about it could possibly hit 107,000. Now they're talking about it as a crash to come back down to that level. For me, in my mind, because these people can't stay neutral about anything. Looking at that, that actually is very good level of support. I wouldn't wait for it to hit 107. At the current level of 112, I'm not buying, I'm not selling, I'm waiting to see where it sorts itself. If it gets down to that 108, 109 level, possibly some more buys for the long term. There's a lot more that we've got to get through that will be sorting, but trades, you have to watch that one, make sure you're hedged. Now we've got some more of this, as they say, Fed speak and PCE inflation numbers coming out towards the end of the week. So looking at more volatility now. If you look behind what happened with Bitcoin, and I mentioned this morning, CZ, he is the pretty much the main guy from Binance. He deepened the stake in their family office, this corporation called Athena Labs. And so what happened, in short, is he sold a massive amount of Bitcoin, which I believe caused the good portion of this dump, in order to sort this stable coin. So he's got something else coming out. He wanted to shift some of his resources, and he does not care if he dumps the price of Bitcoin for a few days, a week, or whatever. He's well set. So he got rid of it and has shifted it now into this new venture, if you will, that he's got going on. Now, the last thing that I wanted to mention goes back to what I had said before. of the Western nations that are now, I have to be very careful. I probably said too much, and I don't know if this video is going to get out. But in short, they are going to recognize as a state, and this is going to include the UK, Canada, Portugal, and Australia. So with this, they're already redrawing maps. Apparently, this is going to be a big deal going on to this. So looking at this geopolitical risk, this is causing the tailwinds for not just oil, but also some of the other corporations. Again, looking at the defense sector, if you will, the war stocks, if you're so inclined. So with all of this, I wish you a wonderful trading day. I'm going to miss you the next couple of days, but I'll try and keep up with you, in particularly on X. Thank you kindly. You guys have a wonderful week.